We've unboxed it, we've reviewed it, we've rooted it. We've given you in-depth feature coverage on every nook and cranny of the Samsung Galaxy S3. And now that it's seeing its stateside launch on 5 US carriers, it's time to do it again. This is Michael Fisher, this is Pocket Now, and this is the video review of the Sprint Samsung Galaxy S3. Let's check it out. As I wrote in my full review, which you can read at pocketnow.com, I started my mobile phone life with a Samsung phone on Sprint 11 years ago. So it's only right that I should kick off my first review of the summer with a Samsung phone on Sprint. Now, normally when there's a high-profile device launch across multiple US carriers, we get to take you through what elements of this specific model differ from the international version and from its sister versions across the carriers. But Samsung now has enough brand power with the Galaxy brand to make every Galaxy S3 essentially identical across all of the major carriers. Essentially identical. That means the same positives: an attractive pebble-like design with almost no straight lines, display glass that curves down into the body of the phone, an extremely pocket-friendly slimness and lightweight. There's also the big, bright LED notification light up top, invisible when off, which I love, and the backlit menu and navigation keys down here. Like Brandon, I found the back key's placement to the right of the home key to be unintuitive. Unlike Brandon, though, I kind of like how the light diffuses through the casing on the marble white version here. In the dark, the notification light up here illuminates the whole bezel, making the phone almost glow in the dark. Some will find it cheap looking, but I don't mind it. In fact, I love it. Being identical to its international cousin, though, also means the same negatives here as well. A fake-looking brushed aluminum bezel with a visible seam running down the middle, and materials that, while they aren't actually cheap, it's polycarbonate under a hyperglazed coating, still feel cheap at times. The device feels smooth and comfortable in the hand, but it picks up fingerprints and skin oils very, very readily, and it doesn't handle drops terribly well either. That plastic bezel already has a nice-looking chip in it here on my international version after a very slight drop. Also, we've posted a few pieces at Pocket Now about when a smartphone can be too light. For me, the Galaxy S3 is definitely one of them. To my hands, it just feels lower quality than similar devices in its class, like the HTC One X. As always, though, your mileage will vary when it comes to subjective stuff like this. This is probably the most subjective area of any mobile phone review, is the feel in hand. About half of the friends and family I allowed to handle this phone agreed with me that it felt a little too light, a little too cheap. But the other half thought it felt fine. Some of them even said it felt too heavy. So you want to go to a retail store and handle this in your hand. Don't listen to me, don't listen to anybody. Just go handle it for yourself. I can only tell you how it feels to me. Ask them in the retail store if they can give you a model to hold yourself so that you don't have to deal with the rubber bandy tether on the back of it, and see how it feels to you before you pull the trigger on it. Now, popping off the battery cover here, we can catch one of the only visible distinctions between the international and the Sprint versions of the device. The Sprint version does not have a removable SIM. That won't matter much to people who don't swap phones often, but for you swap junkies, that may make a difference. Just like with visual appearance, the specs on the Sprint Galaxy S3 are similar to its international cousin, with a 4.8-inch Super AMOLED display and a 1.9 megapixel camera here up front, and on the back, an 8-megapixel backside illuminated camera with flash. Under the hood, though, is where the differences come up. The Sprint